Good morning to my enlightened friends as we walk the trails with our trees all around us. It's a beautiful day in Virginia, and it's sort of like today is the best of the last several days, so that's pleasant. Uh, Now, are people thinking any better? Well, I have a couple of thoughts, the good news, bad news thoughts. Um, let's start with the worst part of it. We have a general retired at a convention of conspiracy nuts, QAnon, and he's asked, you know, what's going on in Myanmar? And those of you who probably follow the news know that, if you can take it, that what basically happened was a military coup after an election overturning the government. And somebody in the audience asked Michael Flynn, hey, why not here? And Flynn answered, interestingly, he said, there's no reason. It should happen here. That's precisely what he said. And I listened to the tape, and some of you have probably listened to the tape. And since then, he's sort of backed off his words for a couple of reasons. One, I think it fulfills the definition of sedition, which last I checked was a very serious federal crime. And he's subject to the military rules and tribunals as a result of him being a retired general. So, but here's the thing. A lot of people's reaction to this, and when I say this, it's commentators, isn't that silly, isn't that ridiculous, and so forth. And to my knowledge, the only person who came out and said it is treasonous and he should be prosecuted for it was Painter, who has, to me, a charming, deep voice and a straight manner. And he cited chapter and verse why this was illegal. But others have said, oh no, it's silly and it's loony and so forth. We shouldn't be doing that. This is serious stuff, and we have to take seriously what they're saying. We always skip to the point of, oh look, they want to manipulate the election. But we don't go back beyond that to see where this comes from. And that's a big error. So we shouldn't be saying this is a joke. We should be saying instead, you are committing treasonous acts, like Painter said. You are subject to the military code of justice, and you should be disciplined, held accountable for it. We have to hold these people accountable. And you may remember that Flynn was a guy who was in the White House, and he spoke on behalf of martial law to correct the election that Trump lost and to reverse that result in favor of Trump. So we have to start thinking about these people seriously and acting to it. And we should be calling them out. See, what the language has become among politicians is, I'm for democracy. So they implicitly are saying, I'm not an autocrat, but they don't say that. And they don't say who the autocrats are. They should be calling out Hawley and Cruz. They should be calling out Stone and Trump. They should be calling out Giuliani. They should be calling out Flynn, instead of treating them as if they're just loony. Because these crazy theories are taking hold in the absence of the argument that they're not just loony, but that they're dangerous, and that we don't want a Myanmar to be happening in America. It's not acceptable. That what a democracy is means something. And so that's a great concern. So, okay, so that's kind of the bad news that bounces around in my head. Now, the next part is those who are asking Congress to act. And I think that when we talk about the filibuster, the 60 votes, think about it. The Senate is a non-democratic body. There are 2 votes for each state without regard to their proportional representation in America. So when you have a lack of representation to begin with, when you have 50 states and 100 senators, then you've given the smaller states a disproportionate representation in that body. And that wasn't lost upon the founders when we were having the North-South division and the question of slavery. But consider that instead of a majority in a body that's not representational to begin with, you require a supermajority to pass legislation. Then you are as undemocratic and disproportional as you can be. So what's the solution to avoid a body that is mathematically out of proportion, even without a supermajority vote required by the filibuster? The answer is to pass a bill saying a majority is not just enough, it is right, and is still disproportionate in the Senate because it gives a partial veto to those smaller states who disagree without any supermajority. So that's my thinking on that subject. Now, that means we should be calling out Sinema and Manchin, and every Democrat in the Senate should be voting for a majority instead of for the filibuster 60-vote majority. Okay, so one piece of good news is that the pressure has increased. But we should be calling out the enemy. We should be making it clear. I often say, you can't win the argument you don't make. We're not making the argument. These guys in the Senate were involved in this. These investigations should involve them. But here's the final best argument for action that I've heard. You may have seen that I've said before that I think what we should do is the president should set up his own commission. And Jerry Connolly, who's a friend, I had no conversation with him, he apparently has proposed just that. There should be a presidential commission to investigate January the 6th. And that's a full circle. From a man who's betraying his country, who should be prosecuted for sedition, to an investigation issued by the White House, if we can't change the rules on the filibuster, to get to the bottom of those Republicans and those oath keepers and all those people in this nation that would compromise our democracy and favor a takeover. Maybe not like Myanmar, but as dangerous to our history as a republic. So, that's my thinking. Hope you have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.